I wanted to come on today because I was listening to a powerful interview um, on the podcast Know Thyself by Andrew Ducombe, I think is how you say his last name. Sorry if I got that wrong. And he had Dr. Anna Lembke, and she was sharing about addiction and all the ways that she's an author herself and a psychologist. And it was interesting for her to explain addiction, explain dopamine. And so there were a couple of moments where she had said something that was so profound. So she was sharing the statistics of what was happening in America and also in like the wealthiest nations in the world. And she was speaking to the statistical fact that the wealthiest nations are becoming more and more unhappy. And we have the fastest rate of self-harm of our young people committing suicide, depression, and anxiety. So that within itself was a very powerful statistics. And I think we've all seen that and we've all realized it. You kind of hear it in people's comments where, in the art world, it's, oh, music doesn't sound the same like it used to be. In parent conversations, you hear it in terms of, I used to play outside all the time, and now the kids just scroll all day. And then in other environments, you hear the comparison. It could be a regional comparison of like East Coast versus the Pacific Northwest. Or it could be a generational where many people feel like the younger generation at times does not work as hard as the older generation, or it can't handle constructive criticism. So you hear all these comments in these different perspectives, but it all speaks to this one common thread, which is we must have something fundamentally wrong about the way we are pursuing this good life. So in sharing that, when she had said that, when Dr. Anna Lembke said that in the interview, we all know this to be true. We just seem to have a different perspective of in how we're looking at it. And so she was saying how our brain is actually wired for friction, for adversity. And we have in the wealthiest nations I'm talking about, we have an overwhelming abundance. And our brain is basically trying to protect us. And it's actually, that is what is making us unhappy. So you can see that I just thought that was a profound thing to know that your brain is wired for adversity. And when we don't have enough of it, the fact that we have all this peace, all this comfort, all this abundance. Hi. Talking about life and talking about this interview of the psychologist that's helped people with addiction, right? And like the phones, right? Us scrolling on the phones, that is a big part of our dopamine fix that we need. Some people it's porn, some people it's drugs, whatever the vice is. And so I just wanted to share that because in our pursuit of a good life, we are innately going against how our body works. And so we are becoming less happy. So I just wanted to share that because I think it's profound when we start thinking about ways to get happy, and not in superficial ways, not in, quick fixes, but definitely, I wanted to share how the overconsumption of anything is what's making us less happy. So, in speaking about vicious cycles, in my book, I'm an author. This is my book. In this book, in chapter 8, it's called In the Flow. And in the flow is basically a stream of consciousness that came over me after I survived September 11th. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I used to work at a boutique hedge fund on the 46th floor of the One World Trade Center, and was on the 46th floor when the planes hit. And so I escaped death. And this is in all the different realizations. Like, I talk about me moving to New York. I talk about all the things I learned working on Wall Street, being in the art world, being a B girl, modeling, all that. And this chapter in the flow is about vicious cycles. So as I walked, a rush of thoughts hit me, a wave of realizations about how I had been spending my life. I could see how much I was a victim to my own vicious cycles. I could feel that the life I had been living, while it was in many ways all I had longed for, wasn't actually complete. It didn't have to do with what I had or what I was doing. It had to do with how much I knew myself, how willing I was to recalibrate all the roots within me that led to systemic dissatisfaction. I had thought that the answers to my problems, my lack of self-confidence, my inability to sit silently with my thoughts, my overwhelming self-doubt, could be fixed with a cross-country drive and a New York City address. And while that had opened up new possibilities, it hadn't and couldn't solve the real issues. I was trapped in a cycle of unhappiness, the same cycle that our society is built on, that capitalism depends on. When I felt the lack of my life, not having time for what mattered, not being with the right person, not living my dreams to the fullest, I reached out for the nearest coping mechanism I could find. And then this part is where I talk about the different vices: smoke, work, a connection with a man, whatever filled me up and provided me with relief for even a mere moment. The more I felt, the more vices I needed to numb those feelings. And it seemed so clear that a world designed to encourage everyone to go after these temporary solutions and to pay money for them was a world that would fold in on itself, which is what basically that statistic that Dr. Anna Lembke is talking about. That's what's happening now. So this was all me in my mid-20s. So this was back in like 2001, 2002. It destroyed relationships. The fix was more important than family. Feeling good was more important than friendship. Getting what you needed to remove the ache in your heart was a higher priority than all the other people on our planet. The typical American lifestyle is built around this cycle. It doesn't matter what class, what culture, or what religion, we are all trying to fill the holes inside of us. We all do this to some degree or another. Chasing our vices is the most vicious cycle because it's designed to keep us tamed and to keep us trapped. The truth was simple all of a sudden. We all go without when we fail to look within. Death is a great disruptor, the thing we are so afraid of that we spend a lifetime avoiding its name. That day, I'm talking about September 11th, I faced it head on. Feet first, step, jumping away from its clutches. But even though I had escaped death today, the reflection I saw when I faced it remains. I would remember to always take a moment to look at myself, at my life, at my past behaviors. I will balance my long-term goals with my short-term gains. I will remember that human connection, divine light, and universal energy are at the core of all that we do. I will always ask myself one question: what do I want my legacy to be? Now that I knew the truth about God, that we were inextricably bound together, I felt like I could see clearly. The what ifs, the temporary lifts, the momentary distractions were not what we were put on earth to do or pursue. My eyes were open, even though I felt heavy with the immeasurable loss of that day. I was surprised to find that my spirit was light and my heart was full. That's page 120 in my book, Step, Step, Jump. You can get it at annabelquintero.com. And thank you for stopping by. I hope that it lifts up your spirit to know that where you are, whatever adversity you're facing and challenges you are working through, that within yourself is what we are meant to do here. That is how our brain is wired. And that actually makes us happy, that we can be resilient, that we can choose how we want to respond, and we get to feel all the spectrum of emotions while we're on this earth. Wishing you all a beautiful day.